Welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to study Geometry Reader in SwiftUI. So let's start by creating a new file and name it as Geometry Reader Playground. So Geometry Reader is a view in SwiftUI that allows us to get size of a view. By default, SwiftUI actually renders views best, but it is also possible to give our views a size relative to their container. So let's just see, we want maybe two rectangles and two horizontal rectangle, and we want one of them to have a width of 75% of the screen. So let's just use an hashtag in here and write a rectangle and fill it with maybe green color and have an opacity of 0.5, and let's just give it a frame, a width of right now just have 100, but we will definitely change it later. And let's just have another rectangle and fill it with a blue color and have an opacity of 0.5 and use a frame. So now we have our two boxes, and if you only want to support a portrait mode, if your app is only supporting a portrait mode and you do not have a landscape mode, then you can actually use another property instead of this geometry reader. Let's just create a variable and name it as maybe screen width, and let's just return cg float, and we can actually use UI screen and then main.bounds.width. So this will actually returns you the width of the screen, and similarly if you want a height, you can actually return in here or use in here height, and this will give you the height. But this does not support the orientation changes. So like if user switches the app from portrait to landscape mode, then we do not get this value for the landscape. It's just like for the single portrait version or the default. So let's just try to like see this with the help of an example. So we want our green rectangle to have actually a 75% of the screen, so we can multiply this with a 0.75, and this gives us 75% value from the screen width. And we want this rectangle, the blue one, to have the remaining 25%. So now we have a view with 75% width and a view with 25, and we can see there is a space between the views, so we can use a zero spacing. Now this looks good, but if you rotate this, let's just try to rotate this with the help of this canvas setting that we can use, and let's just use a landscape. Now you can see this is not the whole width of the screen. This is actually, these views are retaining their width, or actually this width is again coming from the portrait mode and not from the landscape. So this value is not aware of the orientation change. So let's just see how we can use geometry reader. So in order to use a geometry reader, we have to wrap our view in which we want to use geometry reader inside a geometry reader, like this. So now we have our edge tag inside a geometry reader, and now instead of this screen width, we can use geometry reader, or the variable, or the we have utilized, or we have used geometry in here, so we have to use geometry dot size, and then we can use either width or height, but now we are interested in width, so we are going to use width. And let's just use the same thing for the second view. So now if we try to rotate our screen, you can notice our views are actually utilizing the whole width. And this space that you are seeing, this is actually the safe area that we haven't yet ignored. So if you want, you can ignore the safe area so that your rectangles fills the all available space. But we understood, like, this is what I was trying to say, that the geometry editor is aware of the orientation change. So now you have the 75% width allocated to the green rectangle and 25% width to the blue rectangle. And if you again change your orientation, it's going to keep its width, and yeah, it's now again like in accordance with the portrait version of the device. So that's it for the geometry. There is a very simple concept, but it's used heavily in the SwiftUI app development, because we actually like we have these conditions sometime in the design where we have to use these percentage of the views height or width. So I hope you understand it, but if you still have any question, let me know in the comment, and see you in the next video.